All right, what's up, folks? There we go. All right, so today is August 31st. Not really sure what happened here just a bit ago. A little bit of a technical difficulty, if you will. Let me turn down the gain on this thing. Turn it down, turn it down. All right. So today is just going to be a little bit of a Q&A. We're going to go through a request that we have from Discord. Jim was working on extending trend lines, which extending trend lines is a little bit different from extending rectangles. However, it's similar in nature of using the method and just kind of changing one of the points. But we'll go over here in a bit. Yeah, so programming is much like riding a bike or something. You know, you just gotta find that balance point. Once you find that balance point after you scrape your knee a couple times, then you kind of figure out what works. And once you find out what works, you just kind of keep practicing, so it kind of comes natural. Like I said, whether or not you're using count-to-count bars, whether or not you are using a method and a loop to cycle through, you know, an entirety of vectors, and then you've got like the max bars back, right? So knowing how to use bar number with endpoints and that kind of a thing. And if you'll see, I'll go ahead and pull this up. If you'll see that anytime I'm, doing something with bar number with, and this is Jim's, by the way. Anytime you're doing something with bar number, you want to use bar number plus max bars back -1. And there's a reason for it. And this took so many days and weekends of trial and error and trying to figure out what's going on. Oh, so many headaches. All right, so whenever the chart runs, it essentially runs twice. For whatever reason, especially and maybe only if you have it on auto detect for max bars back setting. But when the chart is trying to figure out how many bars back to use for the max bars back setting, it has to run the chart. So when it runs the chart, it'll start it, and then the bar count will be 1, and then it starts over again. So it starts it, runs a certain distance, and then starts it again. So you have to subtract 1 from your total number of your bar number. Now, max bars back is the number of bars that happens at the beginning of the chart that your chart and your studies don't really even use. It kind of ignores that set number of bars. So when you're looking at a bar number for like bar number point create, it's based on 0 value. I think it's based on the 0 value. You have to use whatever that current bar number count is. That bar number count, though, does not include the max bars back number. So you got to take the bar number plus the max bars back and then subtract 1 from it, because remember it ran an extra iteration before. So something like that. But anyway, you'll learn that you just need to do this right here. Okay. All right. So let's go through this real quick. 10 minutes, 15 minutes here. I don't know. We're not going to be long. So for the next 2 weeks, I'm keeping it succinct. All right, so this is Jim's script here. We won't go over the whole thing. But essentially, this is supposed to be working on a 5-minute time frame. He's plotting a trend line, and then he wants to extend the trend line to the right. I'm just going to kind of fix what needs to be fixed in order to extend it, and then we will look to see what it's doing and maybe offer some suggestions or something. So anyway, I'm gonna put it just maybe 2 days back on the 5-minute time frame. Okay, and then this is 5-minute SNR, so 15-minute SNR, I'm sorry. All right, so let's get this other one off the chart. 15-minute T1, that. Okay, so you'll see that his script makes all these lines. And again, I don't know the significance of these lines. And that's the joy about programming and chart analysis, technical analysis, all that kind of stuff. It's more of an art, right? So it's the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So, and this might just be a stepping stone to a larger program that he's working on. But at any rate, we've got all these trend lines that come up. So we want to extend these trend lines to the right. He said that he's having trouble with extending the trend line. Let's look to see where we have the extension of the trend line is right here, extend right. And it says that the counter is less than 160, we want to extend to the right. Well, when does the counter move? The counter The counter, once we find the condition being met, we're going to draw a trend line. So every time that we draw a trend line, the condition has been met and the counter equals 1. Okay, on any bar, as long as the counter is greater than or equal to 1, we're going to add 1 to the counter. So you see how often this condition is being met? This condition is being met here, 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 here. Okay, and again, every time the condition is met, counter is equal to 1, and so we're adding 1 to it every other time. I recognize I did something over here. There we go. All right, so like I said, when the condition is met here, this becomes 1, this becomes 2, 3, 4, this becomes 1 again, it starts over. 2, now this becomes 1 again, it starts over. 2, 1 again, it starts over. 2, 1. So you get the idea. All right, so the counter being greater than less than 160, that's not really going to be a problem because we have so many occurrences of condition 1, right? All right, so extend right should be happening on a fairly frequent basis. All right, all this up here, this is just pretty much, identifying what the condition looks like. Like I said, condition 1 is equal to be true when we're drawing the trend line, and when bar status of the first data stream is equal to 2, so it's the final bar, the final tick, the closing tick of the bar, and the down tail percent is 30%. Just means you have, a certain amount of a wick or something like that. All right. Now up here, the method void, the extend right, he's got the right idea about taking the line, and this is an object, line, extend, set the endpoint. We want to use the bar number plus max bars back minus 1. And so this is essentially going to give us the current bar that we're on. And so that's fine. Save close though. Save close, unless save close keeps adjusting. Where are we at? Unless save close gets updated, this save close would likely be different from one trend line to the next, right? Because whatever this save close is, whatever this is saving, you would not want to update this trend line with this save close info. You would not want to update this trend line with this save close info, right? So that's going to be the problem there. That's a problem, is this save close. This save close, if you're extending all of your trend lines, then this save close really needs to be specific to each individual trend line. This bar number is not really specific to the trend line, because the bar number just says, hey, this vertical line, update all your lines. This vertical on this minute bar or whatever it is, update this line, this line, this line, this line, update all your lines. So this is the y-axis, the bar number. This here, this value here is your x-axis. But like I say, this really needs to be specific to each individual trend line. Now, how do we make it specific to each individual trend line? I think Jim had the idea down here where you take everything that's in your vector, right? So he's got line vector dot count minus 1. All right, so from x of 0, the first index, all the way up until the last element, we're going to well, if there's something in the vector, then for every, if there's something in the vector, right? If the vector is not null, if there's something in the vector, then for every object, every element in the vector, we're going to create a new trend line and save it to new line. or excuse me, we're defining a new trend line called new line. And now if new line is not equal to null, if new line is true, which it is because we just created it here. However, we didn't draw it, we just created it. So I bet that's a thing too. And then begin if counter is less than 160 and close is less than save close, then extend right. Where are we saving close? We're saving close. Save close here. All right, so save close. So whenever the trend line, each individual trend line, whenever it's being created, we're updating the value of save close. We're updating that every time a trend line is being created. But what are we doing with this value? Really, we're not doing anything with it. We didn't push it into a vector. We didn't save it to a tag on the trend line. We're not doing anything with it. But then when we come down here, and we're evaluating for a new trend, or we're looping through the vector. Now we're looking at what save close is. So save close is essentially just going to be the close of the latest trend line, but we're not really doing anything with it. All right, so the other thing that I can tell you about this, Jim, is that here, if the line, so we know that we have lines on the chart, so we know that we've taken the line object, we've pushed it into the vector, and that's fine. So now we have pretty much on most of these bars, we do have something in the vector. But now what are we doing now? Now that we have something in the vector on every single bar, you're running this loop on every single bar. This loop iterates through all the lines stored in the vector line vector. Now, you really don't have to do it on every single bar. You really just need to do it on the last bar, because the last bar is what you're looking at. So you're doing you're taking up extra processing to run it on every bar. So we need to just say here if it's the last bar on the chart. Now, I'm gonna put this on a real small time frame because when I overlooked it today, I didn't look at this, but I'm curious. I bet this will take a lot of processing power. But now I talked to Jim, and now Jim's got a whole lot of RAM, so you know his rig, his computer might be able to handle it. Mine, maybe not so much. All right, so we're only going how many bars? We're only going 100 bars back. So we have a number of trend lines on the screen. Okay, so what I'm going to say, because again, we created an object called new, this trend line is an object, and we defined a new trend line with it. But again, we never drew the trend line on the screen. So we really didn't do anything with that. So I'm curious if we draw it on the screen. New line 1. Okay. So, and it did something similar to what I thought it would. You see how it just kind of really filled in there? Well, that just filled in with a bunch of trend lines. And you see there's the labels for them. Okay, so if we take this out, I'm curious. We got 38. You see we have 38 trend lines on the screen. Now if we put this back on here, if we put this back in and verify it, I'm gonna do if last bar on chart. I'm curious of how many trend lines we have. Then print drawing objects, because we're just going to the vector of drawing objects to see how many trend lines we have on the screen. Drawing objects, and don't remember what the trend line is, so we need to go to the enumeration. The trend line is 3. So drawing objects at index 3 dot count. Okay. Whoa! Y'all see that number there? So Jim, that's what you're doing to your computer there. You're having to draw a lot of trend lines. Okay. Now that would be if you actually drew this trend line on here. I don't know if you intended to do that and just miss putting that step in there, but let's take that step back out. And we have 38 trend lines right there. You see 38 right there. Okay, now the fix for this is you don't even really need this here. We're going to mute that out. All you need to do is go back up here to your method void extension right, and we do want to loop through. We want to check all of our trend lines, and when we check all of our trend lines, we want to extend the endpoint. Now, how do we check all of our trend lines? We need to go through the vector, because you did a good job making sure that you have everything pushed into the vector. So that's work off of our shoulders. Now we just go to line vector. So we use a variable. It's an integer for index, and then we're also going to have a drawing object. I guess we could have done it as trend line. Let's try it both ways. All right, so for x or index equals 0, the first element there, to line vector dot count -1, we're going to begin, and then we have to end. Now put this down here because this was right. You got this right. You do want to set the endpoint, but you're not setting the endpoint of line, which your line was down here, but you had it muted out, commented out, and none of this was line. This was new line. This wasn't line. This wasn't line. You didn't use any of this. You had commented a lot of stuff out. I see you were trying a lot of things, and I mean that's how you get to the right answer. So I mean, you're on the right track. But what you want to do is, for every trend line that's in your vector, you need to pull it out. So we're just going to use the drawing object do to hold the trend line that was in the vector. So we're going to say do is equal how did I do this? Yeah, do is equal what's in the vector at the certain index, idx. At the certain index, what's in the line vector as a type trend line. Now, if you had multiple different things on the chart, then you need to use the enumeration type to find which of the collection of drawing objects. You just pull out all the trend lines, or you need to check to make sure. You need to do like is type. You'd say something like if line vector at the index is type trend line, then assign. All right, but for right now, since we know that everything is trend lines, we can just go this route. So do is equal to line vector of the index as type trend line. And then now that we have the trend line stored in do, now when we hit do dots, you see it comes up with our different trend line stuff. So one of them will be set endpoint. All right, do dot no, it's not set endpoint. So let's just make this a trend line. Trend line and then we got do, and then it's then we have set endpoint, and then we want to make the endpoint. We're going to make it a bar number point dot create, and then that's where you have this bar number plus max bars back -1. I'm going to copy that, paste that there. Now again, if you do this save on close thing, it's going to make you a bunch of diagonal lines because nothing is actually, it's probably going to all come to one point. I don't know. Let's see. My hypothesis, because I'm going to run this on, well, we only need to run on the last line. So it's all going to come to one point. It's going to look like a big old, it's going to look like a bunch of rays. All right. Bar number, set endpoint is bar number point. This has got to be a T. Bar number point dot create. Bar number max bars back. That's 1. Close that. Close that. And so we only need to do this on the last bar. So where you had this right here, we'll just take this out, copy it, put it right there, and yeah, see it made like an array because the save on close wasn't, well, it's definitely not being updated, but yeah. All right, so in order to fix that though, all we have to do is we just need to adjust our, make sure that our level, because we're making a line, so the line has 1 point, another point, 1 point, another point, 1 point, another point. That's what will keep it to be a horizontal line. So we just need to find out what that price level is. All right, so how do we find the price level for a trend line? We just look for the endpoint, or we can look for the beginning point. So we can say do dot is it get, and I know there's like a endpoint. I don't know how the beginning point is. Let me see. So endpoint, oh, endpoint dot price. So endpoint dot price. Excuse me. So before this is actually updated to the new endpoint, we're going to grab the old endpoint first, right, before we update it. All right, so we hit that, and bada bing, bada boom. There you go. There's all your lines. And again, there's 38 lines there. I don't know the significance of them, but again, if you want to turn these off when a certain thing happens, then you can adjust these numbers. But I mean, you got to figure out what this is going to be. Okay, so that is that. Let's see how long are we? 24 minutes. Okay, and then the only other thing is somebody was asking about being able to print out the VWAP from the prior day, right? So VWAP from the prior day, I just used the EL system, and I don't even think you don't even need EL system here. I don't think so. Okay. All right. Yeah. So somebody wanted to know. All right. If we can identify VWAP from the prior end session and plot it on today. So essentially, what you want to do is you want to be able to identify what's going on with VWAP. So VWAP does this kind of a thing. We'll go back. This many days. Okay, and so you see VWAP at the end of the, I mean, you determine what you consider to be the end of your day, the end of your session. If you consider it to be 6 o'clock or if you consider it to be 8 o'clock, it depends on what session you're looking for. So I made an input for that. excuse me, not 6 o'clock, but 4 o'clock, so 1600. But so whatever VWAP is at the time of 1600, roughly here, right? So you want for the following day, starting at the open or wherever you want it to start at, you want to start plotting that level. So at 4 o'clock, VWAP is right here. So essentially you want there to be a line starting right here at 9 o'clock or 9:30 today. All right, so this is what I came up with. All right, and you see that is on the line. This is on the line, and so it's just gonna plot this horizontal line for that entire day as you're trading or you're looking at the screen. And again, that code is pretty simple. We're just saying that if time is equal to end time, and end time is going to be an input that you can access from your chart. If time is equal to end time, I like to say 1600 because that's 4 o'clock. That's the end of the trading day. Then hold VWAP is going to be whatever your VWAP is. So you're going to take the value of VWAP and you're going to hold it in this variable until that next day after 9:30 and before 4 o'clock. It's going to plot your hold VWAP value from the prior day. And then at 1600, it's going to then save another new value for VWAP. Okay, so that one's pretty simple. All right, so this was a simple day. Like I said, we are at 27 minutes and 45 seconds, and I'm going to get off because I'm doing much better with time management, organization. We're trying to get it together. Guys, like, subscribe, share it with a friend, join me on Discord. If you have any questions or comments, you want me to go over something, just put it in the comments or join Discord and send your info there. I usually get back to everything. And what else? I think that's it. All right, guys. I'm Eric. I'm out. Peace.